Hi everyone. So today I'm going to show you how to make a lightning background for your Halloween scene cards. I'm using the Spooktacular Friends stamp set by MFT Stamps. This was just released in August and I'm stamping the little pumpkins from the set and then masking them. This is Nina Solar White cardstock, 110-pound weight. It's important to use this cardstock for this card given the different techniques that we're going to do with ink blending and whatnot on this card. So I just cut out a little mask, or actually I just had this piece of paper sitting on my desk. It was already in that shape and I thought it made some cool hills. So just take a little piece of paper if you don't have one like I do and just cut a little raggedy shape to make a little hill shape on the bottom of the page. And then we're going to ink that hill in with some black soot distress oxide ink, leaving a little thin line between the sky and the land so that it looks like there's a little reflection. And that first blue I used was tumbled glass distress oxide ink. This one is peacock feathers distress oxide ink. And the technique that I'm doing with the ink blending is that our lightning bolt is going to come down from the sky in the upper left-hand corner. So I want my darkest colors to be up in that upper left-hand corner and then just getting lighter on a diagonal as we get towards the bottom of the page, because the lightning is going to light up the sky where it hits, and it's going to hit right about here. So now this is chipped sapphire in the upper left-hand corner, and I also think I used a little faded jeans in between the peacock feathers and the chipped sapphire. We want it really, really dark in that upper left-hand corner. And then I'm just going to blend everything together so that we have a nice light spot towards the bottom, because we're going to stamp our tree there. And that's where the lightning bolt is going to hit. Going around the edges with some black soot just to give it like a smoky, spooky feel to the scene. And now I'm just putting the mask down because I'm going to stamp the tree and I want the tree to peek out behind the hill. I'm using black VersaFine ink to stamp this tree because we're not going to do any inking and the black is nice and bright. Now I am taking some liquid stardust by Lawn Fawn and I'm just applying it on top of the little ghosts with some water. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to get rid of some of that distress oxide ink where the little ghosts are so that they appear white, and then they're also going to be a little glittery because of the liquid stardust. If you don't have liquid stardust, you could just use regular water and just dab up the excess. The goal here is just to get the ghosts a little bit white. Now I'm taking some gouache and I mixed it with water, and now we're going to add the little sparks that are going to surround the lightning bolt. And you want really, really tiny little dots all over the page focused on the upper left-hand corner. And I did that with the gouache. Now we're going to do the same with the liquid stardust. And I'm just taking it without mixing it with water here and just splashing it on a little. If you don't have the stardust, it's okay. You don't need to do this step. If you don't have gouache, you can use white acrylic paint or even maybe white picket fence distress oxide ink paint or the re-inker. You might be able to use that too. Now I'm just painting a second coat of the liquid stardust on the ghosts just to make them look white and sparkly. And I'm adding a little bit underneath the tree. You don't have to do this. I was just fooling around. It didn't really add much. And I'm also going to add some liquid stardust onto some of the branches of the trees. And I actually think this did give it a nice effect. So there's a little bit of sparkle going on in the tree when you put the stardust. I guess you could also use a glitter pen if you don't have the liquid stardust. That would work, and that would probably work for the ghosts too. You want to be careful. You don't want to smear the black ink on the ghost, so just be careful with how wet you get the paper there. And now I'm just drying off my panel with the heat gun. Now we're going to color in our little pumpkins, and we're going to put a little highlight in the upper left-hand corner because they're going to be illuminated by this lightning bolt that's going to come down from the sky. And then I'm going to use a little YR14, and that's going to be end up being my midtone. So I'm just focusing it again on the right-hand side, leaving that a little bit of yellow highlight on the upper left-hand side. And then our YR09 is the darkest color we're going to use, and I'm just going around the very edges of the pumpkin on the right side there. Then I'm going to blend everything together with a YR12. And then reinforce my highlight with the Y00. Honestly, any oranges and yellows that you have will work here. You don't have to be as fussy as I was or use these exact colors. Now I'm going to put a little shadow under the pumpkin. So we're going to use N3, N5, and then a little bit of N7. And I'm just making a little line with my darkest Copic marker, and then I'm going to make a little shadow of the little heads of the pumpkin like they're peeking off towards the left with my lighter shades, and I'm just going to blend everything in. I just want a nice kind of muted look here. Not like a big shadow, just a little something to give the bottom of the page here a little bit of interest. And then once we're done with these guys, we're going to move to our lightning bolt, and this is done in real time. So take your white gel pen, start in the upper left-hand corner, and you're just going to draw like a squiggly line. And this line doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to smush it all out. You'll see in a second. But you just want to kind of mimic the shape of a lightning bolt. And you might want to look at a picture when you do this. You can follow the shape that I'm using right here. And essentially, you want the lightning bolt to end up so that it looks like it's striking this little ghost in the tree. I know it's a little macabre, but I don't know. I think it works for this picture. And the images are kind of cute, right? So it's not too evil looking. And then I'm just going to reinforce that lightning bolt shape with another layer of the white gel pen. And I'm just doing like squiggly, craggly little lines here, making them get thinner as they get to our little ghost. And now I'm going to take that liquid stardust and add some water. And if you don't have a liquid stardust, just use water. And you need to do this while the white gel pen is still wet because we're going to smush it around and take some away. So I took a thin paint brush and I'm just smushing the edges of the lightning bolt. And I know this looks gross right now, but what we're trying to do here is we're building the smoky cloud around the lightning bolt. So we're going to go and draw in the lightning bolt again after we make the little smoky cloud. Then I'm just going to dab up any of the excess water. And because we're relying on the way water reacts with the inks to make this painting, you do need to use distress inks or distress oxide inks. Copics wouldn't work for this. Okay, now I just dried off our little smoke cloud, and now I'm going to draw in the lightning bolt line again. And this line is going to be the actual lightning bolt. So this is where you're going to want to be a little bit more careful with your inking here. And I'm just, again, following the outline of the smoke cloud, and I'm just making craggly little lines. And just making sure that it is all filled in, so it's not like there are any parts that are broken in the chain. And then after we have our main lightning bolt, now this is the fun part, and this is where you get to play a little bit. Now we're going to draw in all of those little like side bolts that are just coming off of the main lightning bolt. And for these, you're just going to go very lightly with your gel pen and just make all kinds of craggly little shapes. And if you get stuck, just make an upside down wishbone. That's a good shape for a lightning bolt if you get stuck. And you're just going to kind of have a few of these little tiny little mini bolts like sticking out here and there, just so that we can fill up that left side of the page a little bit. And you should use a very full or fresh white gel pen for this technique. I think it would be frustrating if you had a pen that was running out of ink, because you really do need to make sure that your lines, that there aren't any skips in your line when you're making all these little like side lightning bolts and the main lightning bolt as well. And now I think that this looks good to me, almost. I guess I'm going to draw one more little lightning bolt. Maybe a few more little little sparks over there on the left. And I think the key here when you're making your lightning bolt, the first time you do it, try to do it on a diagonal like I'm doing it. And then once you get used to the method, then I think you can start experimenting and trying to put it in the center of the page, see what that looks like, etc. You get some good reference photos. And here I'm just kind of making the cloud, building out the smoke in the cloud in some areas, like up near the top. And what I'm doing here is just taking some water, and I'm just trying to remove some of the ink around the lightning bolt so that then it looks cloudy and smoky. And I'm only going to do this like near the top of it. And I think you could skip this step as well. It's not that important. I just wanted to play around and see what it looked like with extra smoke. Now I'm going to dry everything off. And the good thing about this card is that it doesn't take a lot of time at all. It took me about 30 minutes from start to finish. And the lightning bolt was in real time. So that's exactly how much time it took me, is how much time you saw on camera. And now we're going to remove the painter's tape. And then we're going to put everything onto a card base. And we're going to use a sentiment from the Spooktacular Friends stamp set that says Happy Halloween. I thought something simple would be best, and we're going to put it in the upper right-hand corner. I'll show you another version of the card where the sentiment is on the bottom, and you can decide which style you like best. And I'm stamping that with Versamark ink, and then I'm going to put some white embossing powder over it and then heat set it. And then I'm going to cut the white border off of our card panel, and I'm going to put some black and white pattern paper behind the card panel and attach everything to an A2 size card base, and then put our main panel on top of that. I just thought that the black and white striped background looked really good with this card. So there you have it, everyone. There is our lightning background card, perfect for Halloween. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope you give this technique a try. It's not very difficult to do, and it's so much fun, and I think anyone that you gave this card to would be really, really happy to receive it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon in the next video.